Okay. Hi, Judy. That's
All right, you're on.
Good evening. It is November the 10th, and this is a meeting of the Upper Borough Budget Committee meeting. We have a quorum, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with public input. None forthcoming, and we're going to move on to next, which will be the approval of our October 26th minutes. Jane has provided us updated copies of the minutes. There was a sentence that was omitted, and you now have them, and you've got an opportunity to look at them. The minutes section is under the transfer station. It was a sentence that was added. Mr. Gallagher reviewed the line items and explained any major monetary differences. 4 items in particular were reviewed: plastic disposal, CD disposal, MSW disposal, and glass disposal, and discussed. Also discussed was a line item for mowing. Anything other changes that you saw?
Under the town clerk 4140, didn't we have 3 elections this year, and isn't next year 1 election?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then, under the CIP update, the last sentence of the first paragraph, it should say the next meeting of the CIP is tomorrow, 10/28.
That's what it says?
Mine says meeting with the highway department. We already had that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
The CIP meeting on the 28th, we did another meeting. We did meet on the 28th.
Yeah, the CIP met on the 28th of October.
With the highway department or no?
No, we met with the highway department at our previous meeting.
So that'll be deleting the CIP put in.
Yeah, so if instead of with the highway department, it should say of the CIP. And then under insurance, 4196, in the second line, I think that should be the assessed value, ASSESPD value. That's all I saw.
So replacement should be assessed.
I think it's assessed value instead of assessed value.
Assessed value is the real value. I guess.
Well, it's assessment, so maybe it is just assessed.
Oh, just add an ED, assess,
They probably should have an ED on
add an ED to the end of that word.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay,
it, because the value has been assessed.
assess. Well, Gordon was talking about it, he would probably be the one to weigh in on it.
That's all.
No, my question was, at the time, was, do we go, are are we updating our real estate for the town based on replacement value or assessed for?
And if the
Actual
proposal
cash
like
value.
itself on today's real value?
So we want to,
You don't sell it.
So you can only depend on the assessed value, not the market or real estate value, because then each property would have to be appraised by a licensed appraiser.
our insurance should be a replacement cost, I think.
Right.
Yes, I would.
And I would presume that it could be sold.
Within 6 months,
We're not gonna sell the town.
right? Yeah?
All
So,
right,
All right.
does it read properly or not?
It does if you add an ED to the assess.
Yeah.
And I think it conveys.
So maybe it should be to replacement value, not to real value.
no, but Chip answered the question by saying, the next sentence, it says for replacement value, which is what we want.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
And we have to remember to stay true to Gordon's intent. Can't change history.
Okay, then.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as revised.
I'll second that.
We moved and seconded, further discussion? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I have nothing really in the chairman's comments this evening. So we're starting with our budgets. Scheduled at 6:40 was the planning board tonight, he's not here yet. So-
Because there's some question, I think there was some quarantining going on down there as to whether or not he was gonna show up. Or maybe participate by phone, which isn't impossible.
Well, that's not going to be happening this evening, so. Well, that being said, he's not here just yet, so I think we'll just go a little bit out of order. Dennis from the library is here, so why don't we, Dennis, want to come up and have a seat here and tell us about the library budget?
Sure. Where?
Why don't
Right, Chair.
I'm putting the wrong chair here.
That's all right. I'll just grab one.
Fine.
I'll just sit here.
Share my desk. Share it. I can put it in the corner.
That's fine.
Okay. Most of the budget items were the same as they were last year. Changes are to salaries. We have the same number of people. We still have 2 full-time people and 4 part-time people. We hired 2 new employees to replace 2 people that retired. There were 3 internal promotions, but because people are making less than the people that they were replacing, it shows an overall decrease in salaries. So that reflects the minus 8,334. Collection development is up a little bit from last year, primarily because we lost some of our donations and grants, so to compensate for that. Everything else is the same. Maintenance, there is a slight increase because of our heating and cooling and plumbing maintenance contract that kicks in. The first year warranty covers 4 services quarterly. The contract is at the middle of next summer, so we have 2 services that come into play next year. The following year we'll have 4, so there'll be an additional increase. But right now, that's what that plus 868. Technology is down. Last year we bought computers. We bought 4 new computers. And this year we're not doing that because we don't do that every year. So overall, we're down to $7,692, just short of 4%.
And you can live with that reduction?
Yes.
Well, what's cost and salaries, if we go.
I understand. I just want to be sure.
Yeah.
Also to point out that our heating and electricity, I'm speaking now as where my other hat is, trustee
Yeah.
library. Heating and electricity are estimates because we don't have a full year. These were the numbers that were used when we presented to the town what the anticipated costs were going to be when we passed the issue originally. Hopefully those are going to be less than what they are. And looking at our year-to-date expenses, I think maybe our electricity could be a little bit high, but it'll be nice to know for have a good, get a full year in there else.
Is the thing on maintenance there, it's 6438, somehow I came up with a figure that we're spending $3,500 this year because we're gonna, there's two inspections or two maintenances that came with the warranty, and then next year there'll be four that
Well, we've already, we
actually down here pumps includes only 2 of the 4 total annual visits.
well, that's explaining the increase.
So 2 are covered, the warranty.
2 are covered.
Yeah.
Next year, there'll be 4.
Next year there'll be 4.
Yeah. In fact, the original, the proposed operating budget when this was presented was, I think, 7,439, which was like 1,000 more than the maintenance is on this. And it's because all 4 of the services haven't been picked up yet, so.
I make a motion to approve the library budget for 550 in the amount of $216,747.
I'll second the motion.
So moved and accepted. Are there any other questions on the library budget?
I think it's refreshing to see a 4% decrease.
Well, once again, that was salary,
But
No.
Okay.
Celebrate where you can.
And the fact that we have a lovely new building out of deal with good stuff.
Right.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, Dennis.
okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, you're welcome.
Matthew has arrived.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
We apologize, Matthew, we weren't sure whether you were going to try and phone this in or,
Oh, no,
and our technology went down the north pipe this evening, so thank you for coming by.
no problem at all.
Here's Gary.
Yeah, the phone's not connected.
The phone does not work.
Thanks for calling, let me know.
Well,
Okay. Matthew, when we met at our last meeting, planning came up and there were a lot of questions. And there was nobody here to answer them, so that's why we asked you, Kellen, and asked you to drop by.
sure.
And with that, I would open it up to people who have questions.
Well, I would like to know what the status is on the master plan review.
Good. The master plan has been sitting at the Lakes Region Planning Commission for the portions that they were being paid to rewrite for the past couple of years. We just recently received the land use and zoning chapter. It's terrible. Since they've been working on it for 2 years, one would assume it would be fairly good, but it is not. I informed the Lakes Region Planning Commission, since we were at a contract with them, that we would be looking at options for somebody else to finish it. We've met, or Gary Quah, who's the vice chair, has met with MTI, who is a company that specializes in writing master plans, and they seem very promising. We're going to receive a number from them, and we're going to go from there. They seem like they'll be able to do it fairly quickly. And also, it's a company with the software that they use. It's easier to update these things because you can update one section and it automatically goes through all the different chapters in addition, adjusted to other numbers automatically. So several of the chapters are already written, Conservation Commission chapter, Agricultural chapter. They're quite good, written by the Conservation Commission or the Agricultural. So that's where we're at.
Will you be, I'm sorry, I'll go right ahead.
Will $1,000 cover the switch to a new company?
No, there's still, I think, 4,000 plus or minus encumbered from last year.
45 to 55 to 45.
And then we have a bill as well.
Last year's
that-
will carry over, so they only needed an
Just,
additional
all
1,000.
all of you is a contract and we can convert.
Okay.
Yep, there's a bill we have from the Lakes Region Planning Commission, which they weren't all particularly quick ever returning my phone calls, emails, or anything else, and I'm probably gonna be about as quick returning their request for the bill. So that will be a portion of it, but we should have a new estimate from MTI here shortly. And basically, I do not have the time to write a master plan, or does, most small planning boards, so normally these things are outsourced to these companies, and we're gonna get a price to just finish this.
Can you advise at how much is the bill that you currently have? And is there going to be any reduction to that bill because they haven't finished it? Or is it just for the two items that you said were very good?
They had nothing to do with the ones that were very good.
Okay, so then, is there any money actually owed to this association?
About $2,700 according to,
To that bill?
provided. Yeah.
And can you have, negotiate that down?
We can certainly try, it's what
All
I
right.
do for a living, but I'm not gonna guarantee we'll get very far with a commission that's appointed by the governor, so
All right, so then there's the additional cost for the new company coming in, the proposed cost is an estimate of what amount?
we do not have that yet.
You don't have that yet?
We're hoping to have that number prior to the end of December, so we can adjust this budget if we have to.
You're gonna, yeah, because if it's more than $2,000, your
Well, we have another-
appropriations,
We have 1,000 for the
Mhm.
master plan plus the 2,000.
so then it would be, that's 3,000 you have ahead in,
Approximately.
all right, and he's saying it's 1,700,
2,700.
2,700. And the cost of a new place would be even more.
We don't know that yet.
Oh,
We don't know what the number is yet, so we can't get a moving target.
Is the 2,700 what they've charged from the beginning till now? Have they already received a bunch of money and they want 2,700 more?
It was before I was chair, so I can't answer that.
It's been
So
on long,
this
hasn't it?
is, 2,700 is for their land use and zoning chapter that they've been working on.
Does this require a formal contract with them? Is there a contract
We're
there?
out of contract with the Lakes Region Planning Commission and have been for some time.
So you just have to legally void the contract?
No, the contract was expired.
Oh, it's expired.
And has for some period.
It has.
So that's, they say is the balance due when it expired?
That's for the work done to date. Just so everyone knows, a master plan is, I don't know that everyone always knows what one is, but it's not a statutory document. It's not a document that's used every day in land use, land plan and stuff like that. It's basically a summary of where the town is and the direction the town should be going. What a lot of it is talks about conservation or land use, percentages of woodlands and percentages of beech and oak and, things like that. But a lot of it is just as you write zoning, should the town be looking at increasing, mixed-use development along 109A or something along that nature, and that's what it is. It's not something that's, I hesitate to use the word important, because of course every document is important, but as far as the day-to-day operations of the town, there's probably 10 to 15 people in the town who are dying to read this document. So, you know, when we allocate the limited time resources we have as a board to what we're doing, we look at it as the most important thing to do is process the applications that are before us, and that's what we look at.
Is this still an update, or is it a brand new master plan that's coming up? Because the original was what, 8 years ago, or
16.
16 years ago?
Most of it is rewritten. You know, if you look at the conservation sections, if you look at the agricultural sections, they were rewritten. But that was completely done by the conservation committee and such and so forth. I mean, we proofread it, but that's about it. And then, you know, the company you contract with goes through it and rereads it, make sure that it's set up, formatted the way it should be.
Could that all be done in-house though, instead of going to an outside?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, if you want to sign up,
I would seem to think that would make more sense, because in-house is where we live.
Well, the
Right, but
first-
he doesn't have the time to do it.
The
That's what he told
first
us.
master plan was drawn up in-house, and it took, I forget, at least 4 years. A lot of people's work, you could talk to Susie Weeks about it, she did most of the work.
Yeah.
But it's primarily a defense document, and that probably understands this better than anybody. The first thing that happens when you end up at court is,
Mhm.
what's the direction the town's planning, and that brings the master plan. And if you don't have a master plan, then all of a sudden your zoning ordinances become capricious.
Mhm.
So it's important to, I mean, it doesn't come into play a lot, but it's one of those things you never have.
Is there any opportunity for a grant to supplement the cost?
not that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
And who would, do you have a grant writer in town?
we do.
Perhaps we could have that person research that.
We can. I think it's important that we find out what the cost is. I don't know that it's gonna be that enormous, but we'll certainly put it in front of our grant writer as well.
Okay, thank you.
What's the time schedule at this point of getting the new people?
My understanding from Gary, who sat down with them, is that they can move very quickly. This is what they do. This is a, for-profit business. This is what they do. And whereas a lot of this already exists, I mean, the meat and potatoes of the master plan is the land use chapter.
And we'd still have to budget for
I'm
it.
sorry.
We'd still have to budget for it.
Oh, I'm not saying you shouldn't budget
Even
for it.
if we did get a grant.
Yes, I understand, but I think we should always look at any available venue for funding.
Sure.
And Matt, I just want to thank you for the work you've done. Thank you for picking it up. I know your predecessor tried to do it in-house, and it just kept getting further and further down the road. So it'll be nice when it's done. And I appreciate all the work that you've done on
It's nice that that keeps it apolitical, which the previous administration of the planning board didn't. So appreciate that.
Do you have any appreciable expenses coming up for the fourth quarter that's not reflected in the numbers here?
No, not really.
Because,
I
the
mean,
reason I asked was you spent about half of your last year's budget.
Yeah, and if we reflected income, you would see that that's probably about double what it was last year.
Yeah.
But that of course isn't reflected on, here. I did review what we were charging for our fees for site plan review, subdivisions, everything. And we were way off from where other towns were, so,
Low or high?
low.
Oh.
So we, I adjusted them as they should be, with no complaints.
Well, that's the revenue side, but what I'm saying is I'm looking at you at the 20 budget, the 2020 expended through October.
Yeah, it's about
You
half.
spent about half the money.
Yeah, what you can't see there because it's not in there is the legal side, which is through the roof.
Well, that was my other search, we've got $20,000 legal
Yes.
line item.
And I don't see that going away anytime soon.
Okay.
But, we found efficiencies and we,
Why is it that you don't feel that it's gonna go away anytime soon?
because, there's people in town who enjoy suing each other.
No.
And it just, I don't see that going away anytime in the near future. So, every time they do, I mean, we'll have an application come before the board, and it wouldn't matter which way the board went, we're gonna get sued either way. So, and, you know, the town has to, even though the applicant normally acts as intervener, meaning that, they have their attorneys and they represent, the board of the town. We have expenses that we incur every single time, both between our attorneys, and then we have to put together the official records, and it takes time, data. Someday, maybe.
One of the lawyers are always wrong.
Only one who wins when lawyers are involved are the lawyers.
Yeah, I'll hate him, do we need him? Well, other questions? I would entertain a motion for the planning board.
I make a motion that we accept budget 4191011110, planning and zoning for the next fiscal year,
And the amount?
in the amount of $26,227.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? None forthcoming. Those in favor, aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming down.
I agree.
Nice evening.
Well, we've got a few minutes before it's 7:10.
Yeah, we're a little bit ahead of ourselves once again, so until Adam gets here, why don't we move on to 4130, which is executive bond. You want to talk about that one, Chip?
Sure.
We're in executive.
I'm feeling executive today. All right, most of it stayed the same. The moderator's line is lower. The administrative assistant and administrative secretary are the two lines that went up. As you probably know, we had a shakeup in the staff. We negotiated salaries with the incoming selectman secretary. And in doing so, she started at one number and obviously went through or is going through the, what's the word I'm looking for? Probation period, and our expectations should be fine. She had a significantly more experience than our previous secretary, so could negotiate a higher salary. That being said, the administrative assistant salary needed to be renegotiated as well. So we've got a total increase of $8,000.
About 7,114, about 8,000.
I'm sorry, 5485.
Get one, clerical assistant,
Yeah,
that's 3,000 down there for this year, and it's only 1,300 spent, and 3,000 next year.
right.
But in 2019, it was 800.
Right.
Is that new,
Okay.
new,
And it's-
bigger?
The reason that changed back then, and the reason why it's been updated for this year again, it hasn't been increased, is that taking over the secretarial work for the planning, or for the budget committee, for the conservation commission, and also having a third person so that one of these two people can be on vacation or sick. It gives us a bench, if you will. without spending an awful lot of money on it.
The clerical assistant travels from board to board and this and that.
The clerical assistant's gonna travel from board to board and also work internally. We're also trying to get some sort of arrangement with the road agent whose clerical needs assisting so that we can have more extensive reporting from him on things like the Lakes Region Planning Commission's culvert study, paving study, and getting some projections going forward so that we're not just going year to year and guessing. So we're hoping to utilize her more. I'm sure we'll utilize $3,000 worth of her. We may be coming back next year with more work for her because it's important to.
Like keep keeping stuff on.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Clay, at some point in time, I'm sure is gonna wanna retire. I do, I'm sure we're the same age. So whoever you put into the transfer station is gonna need some clerical assistance as well. And he does a yeoman's job on putting all the numbers together. Can we replace that? I hope so, but if we can't, we need to have the ability to do it. I put you to sleep yet, or?
No,
Okay.
every word.
Check it.
In every snore, I go to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
I move that we approve the budget for 4130 executive in the amount of $114,289.
I'll second that.
Well, just for discussion, if it doesn't get any easier, that selectmen's line is gonna go to $55,000 next year.
What? Wishful thinking.
Good
I'm just
try.
in it for the money, I just want you to
I
know.
knew you were in for the
Yeah.
Little shot in there.
We gave you a raise a couple of years ago.
I wasn't using it
What?
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Very good. 7-0. We're a few minutes ahead of ourselves once again, and the fire chief is not here yet.
that
We
way.
can have a little selectmen's update.
Sure. I was overly optimistic when last we met. I think told you that we were gonna have the financial administration, which we have, the personal administration, which we don't, the fire department, which we have, the road agent, which we should have, and the library. The road agent was supposed to come in Monday, was it? And because we had talked about his budget extensively for the last 2 weeks, and he still hasn't gotten it done, so I apologize for that.
Well, we're planning on, for our next meeting, police and the road.
Right,
So,
and,
there's a couple weeks to work on it.
right, and it might be a long meeting, because I really want to get the personal administration off here. Maybe you want to work on it for the next meeting, or maybe you want to push it for another meeting, but we're still waiting to get back some insurance quotes that we're working on. And so that's not quite right yet, and I apologize for that. Other than that, we did set the tax rate. It's going to be $9.56,
What was that? I'm sorry.
I think.
What, 963?
56.
9.56.
956.
It was over 10 last year.
You know, I read your minutes, but I didn't print out your draft minutes. And one of the things I saw that you took something out of the budget to put in a separate warrant article that had to do with roads.
We did. The preparation for paving, or the construction work, we brought back out of the operating budget and put it into the warrant article, or it should be, because it's going to change from year to year depending on what roads you do.
Okay.
And it skewed the, I wasn't here when it went into the operating budget, but it does skew the numbers, and the road agent, not unlike, transfer station, has a tendency when they don't know where to put something, to put it there. And so it was making it a little less clear as to what his operation is really doing. So we're changing that line to, we're changing the total of that line. We're still funding that line, but to a lower, obviously a lower amount, so that he can have someplace to put things that he needs to put somewhere for road preparation. So we did it, and I think that kind of threw him for a loop a little bit, so that may be why his numbers aren't with us tonight.
Was that what the 35,000 was last year?
Right,
Okay.
yeah,
This was money that was designated for road preparation, was that?
right.
And what exactly is road preparation?
It's, okay, we're gonna pave North Line Road.
Right.
So in order to get ready to pave, we need to replace some culverts.
Okay.
The culvert line is just the cost of the culvert. We may have to do some ditch work, we may have to do some excavation of stones, or whatever, to play in the Game Road area was
Yeah.
big. So it's really more to do with the preparation for paving as opposed to actual level.
I think we discussed this at a time, it was going back quite a ways, and one of the reasons why it was kept as an operating cost was that it's really not a capital improvement kind of thing. It's more like a variable cost, and as you point out, it's used sometimes as a catch-all. I'm wondering if that, do we need to have a line item that says that? Maybe.
Well, the reason that I thought it was more appropriate than a warrant article is we may do $50,000 worth of road prep in 2021 and not pave those roads until 2022. I mean, it may require a certain amount of upgrading to get to the point where we can actually pave. So putting it in the general operating budget just pushes that operating budget all around. And the next year we might do $10,000 worth, so it seemed a little less controllable. Plus,
Well, I mean, I personally can't object to what your rationale is, I understand it, but I just wonder if that line item is even necessary. Maybe it's just part of the job of paving that year. You just roll it into it and make it all one warrant, rather than trying to break it out on a separate basis.
But as Chip was just saying, if you're gonna do the work this year, but you're not gonna do the actual paving for next year. I agree with your line of reasoning.
let's see how it works. I mean,
Yeah.
budgets are supposed to be cast in stone, but they never are.
It was nice to hear your line of reasoning, because I get very concerned with stuff that's always sort of has been in the operating budget, suddenly goes to a warrant article,
Yeah.
then you end up like the town of Wolfboro with, 60 warrant articles instead of saying, well, maybe it's starting to be in our operating budget. And that's a road I do not want I would hate to see the town go down. So,
And it may be, and I'm just talking off the top of my head, it may be that paving and road prep is all one warrant, but the numbers are illustrated so that it's clear what we're buying as opposed to, I know we're pushing the paving up to 300,000 or 350,000. But there's going to be some other costs involved in that.
One of the reasons that we pushed it up was because we wrapped in the separate warrant article you had last year for 35,000.
Right,
So,
that's from the CFD standpoint.
yes.
Chip, does the cost of asphalt jump around also from year to year?
Well, it depends on the cost of oil. I mean, we've been pretty fortunate the last couple of years because oil prices are down. But who knows what, you never know year to year. It's sort of like asking Matt about his spending of the budget for 2020. Well, a lot of those numbers are premised upon this reason why we're wearing masks. You know, a lot of things didn't happen, but it's not to say that they're not gonna happen in 2021, so we sort of have to be consistent.
Okay. Well, Adam is here, so we can, not trying to put you off.
No, that's fine.
More to say. Hi, Adam.
Hey, how do you-
Now we get a burning tree. You want to start with, give us a little explanation, Adam? You just want to have us jump right into questions?
You can jump right into questions, and I'll answer whatever I can.
I was looking at 42/20/21 660 boat expenses. Are we doing something major to the boat, to the fleet next year? We spent $2,000 in 2736 this year, and we want to go to 8144 next year?
Some stuff went up as far as boat was.
Well, it's the first line of our paperwork.
I'm just trying to get to my,
Yeah, subline 20.
my information as far as backup information.
The one I'm referring to, once again, is 42/20,
Mhm.
21/660.
Okay, as far as boat wise, I have different estimates, and I can show you those as far as the different costs of things. One, they've gone up to a higher labor rate, so the boat storage and winterization has gone up to $1,643. All the mechanical things have gone up in that particular side. We have $2,600 in there for airboat maintenance. We never know if we're going to need to do maintenance on the boat as far as, once it starts getting used in the wintertime. If we have to have the aluminum welded on the boat, it has to go to the company in Maine and be done there as far as it goes. So I have $200 for spring cleaning, $280 for waxing it, and those are something that we will end up taking care of. If we had that done at the marina, it would cost twice that amount of money.
Were those things that did not get done this year?
What's that?
Were the things that you were just alluding to, the waxing, that sort of thing, did not get done this year?
It did get done this year as far as it goes.
It did?
Yes.
Okay, well, once again, I'm just still looking at the, this is an appreciable jump in that one item that just jumped out at me.
You're on boat insurance?
Yes.
So last year it was $7,859. This year it's $8,144. There isn't a huge increase in
No, I'm not quibbling about the budget amount, I'm quibbling about, I was just questioning the expended amount.
Oh, the expended, there is still stuff that, the boat does not get put away until the ice is here.
Okay,
So we still need to expend all of the maintenance as far as whatever has to be done for winter wise, and whatever has to be done for
Okay.
storage. We usually do the bottom painting, and the marina does the winterization of the live wells and the water system. And all of that. That all gets taken care of in the fall. In the springtime, we do the waxing and the cleaning, obviously, of the boat.
you do that in-house?
Yes.
Yeah, you kind of caught my attention about this welding thing. What, it has to go across state line to get welded?
The airboat, we have, there is a company that's called Kimball and Doobie in Maine. It's in Gray, Maine. They specifically, one of the things is that they work on airboats. They have a welder there that can weld aluminum, and they specifically work on airboats. They do all of Maine's airboats, and a lot of the airboats that are around the area go there. So
So it's not just welding, but it's
No.
more to do with...
whatever
maintenance
maintenance
of
that
the-
it would need to have.
Okay.
Through our association last year, it went to there, and we had $15,000 worth of work completed on it. The polymer bottom that protects the boat, that you go across whatever surfaces with, and it also comes up about 1.5 feet on the sides as far as ice protection. That was all replaced. In order to do that, they had to take the engine out, everything that was inside the boat, every nut and bolt that holds that polymer out had to be cut off or ground out, and new ones put in with that. So it was quite a substantial job. At that point in time, they also found any cracks or anything that would be an issue and tried to take care of that at that time. So we're in good shape. But when the boat does go out on the ice, it really bangs it up as far as, it's constantly bouncing on the ice and things like that. And depending on if you might not see a raised area as you're going along, you might come up a little bit higher and drop back down. It could cause cracks in some of the water. But as far as expense-wise, most of the major amounts get spent in the fall, just before winter. Sorry for the confusion with that.
What'd you do to your cheek?
I had some cancer removed.
I hope it's not
But
bad.
it's something that, too much sun, and that everyone gets.
The apparatus line is up appreciably this year.
Yes. I do have a,
That's your addition to nitrous, stuff like that.
yeah. So as far as with our ambulance side of things, we have what's called a Porter nitrix field unit that we're looking at for that, and I have a picture of that you can pass around.
Just make the engine
That-
faster, electric light faster.
No, it's used for pain control. Actually.
Okay.
It's something that is, it's something that is coming into the new protocols for the state of New Hampshire. Instead of having to use narcotics with someone, if someone broke a bone or hip or something along that lines, and before you move them, usually you give them narcotics. In this particular case, we give them nitrous.
Nitrous oxide?
It's basically,
Laughing
yes,
gas.
yeah, it's nitrous. It helps, it helps with the pain control, so you wouldn't specifically need a paramedic. Because EMTAs, which we have 7 of, can do that. But the unit itself, the unit itself is $3,750. The cylinders, which we were looking to purchase 3, were $95 a piece. And to refill them is $14, and we figured 3 times. We have been talking to Guilford Fire Department, which uses it on a regular basis because they have the ski slope in their area, obviously, and they have had very good success with it.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you don't have to give someone narcotics, then that's a great thing, that you don't get them addicted to them and things like that. So that is the major increase in that line item. There's nothing saying that we have a new medical control doctor that's coming into the hospital that seems to be on board with it, but so far Huggins has been kind of standoffish of the whole protocol. So that's something that we were just trying to be proactive and be prepared for if it does happen, because it is, like you said, it's a substantial amount of money, especially for that line item as far as it goes.
But it sounds like once this hardware expenditure is done,
That's
they're
it.
only in for bottles and refills at
Yep.
that point.
Yep. Yeah, as I said, the refills are $14.
Yeah.
And basically we would get them from a specific company and go from there. That apparatus expense line item, we also get our oxygen cylinders, our exchange program through a company with that. And that's a Marion Graves company that we deal with. We do our larger bottles and our smaller bottles that we carry along. It was easier to have the smaller bottles exchanged than it is to worry about them having to refill them in-house, having the possibility of them, exploding when you're trying to refill them off of the bigger tanks and stuff like that. It's worked out really well as far as the exchange program.
Do you anticipate spending as much on fuel this year?
I don't see the fuel dropping. I did just get another fuel bill today. I wasn't in the office long enough to put it in the paperwork. It was just under $400 for regular vehicle fuel. So my estimate, the last couple of months, are estimates, obviously. So I had estimated $400 for each of the last months. I think there was 3 months that weren't accounted for. So it's pretty close as far as with that.
How's your staffing?
Staffing wise, we have 3 new people that came in. We had 2 people that have just left. They were firefighters. They left for both health reasons and personal reasons as far as it goes. And we have another young gentleman that's 19 that has just applied, and we're going through the paperwork for that right now. We have let me make sure that I'm not lying to you as far as exactly where we're at.
Well, when somebody leaves, what happens to all their turnout gear? Is that, because we've had discussed it before.
Basically, well, that's the issue. The turnout gear, as far as turnout gear is good for 10 years. And whether or not that, the people show up all the time or whatever their case is, in the end of the 10 years, it needs to be replaced. They might show up once a year. If you have them out in the field, or they have an opportunity to be out in the field, you've got to buy them the new turnout gear that's $3,000 something. That's not the helmet, the boots, the gloves, that's just the jacket and the pants, as far as it goes. Currently, we have 24 of us, 2 full-time. There's 4 that are firefighter specific. They are firefighter, they're not medically trained. There's 4 paramedics that are firefighters. We have 9 EMT that are firefighters, and we have 7 EMTAs that are firefighters also. So our good amount of our members are cross-trained. There's only 4 that do not have medical training. And we don't require that they do both. It's great if they can do both, because that's one more plus to the town as far as having a person that's dual trained.
I saw a line item on it, once again, I'm just trying to find it.
Yep.
You're buying 5 new sets of turnout gear.
Yes.
You want to buy 5 new sets. Is this for the new people or just replacement for existing?
It will be a combination
Of both?
as far as of both. As you get new people, you obviously have to size them. We have tried to, some of the new people, we've tried to use some of the turnout gear that we have. But as you know, that everyone's different size. You may have a female firefighter that is not going to obviously fit in the gentleman's gear that just left at 6'4" and things like that. So the specific sizing is a challenge sometimes. We've also found that it's taking them longer, obviously, to make the turnout gear because of the COVID, because of things shutting down. So it's tougher getting it. We're waiting quite a bit of time to get that. This year, we had just got 4 new sets of gear. We keep a chart that on the board in Caleb's office that specifically documents everyone's turnout gear. Most people have 2 sets of gear, so obviously you come back from a fire call and things like that, or you've got blood on the gear, it gets washed and it's out of service for a day or 2 until it's washed, it's dried, and put back together. So they have the other set to use, whether it's older or a new set, as far as that goes. So, as I said, most people have 2 sets. There are some people that don't show up, a tremendous amount that might have 1 set, as far as it goes. We try to keep everyone in 2 sets of gear just for the purposes of, obviously it needs to be cleaned as soon as you use it. And it's not getting any cheaper as we go along. As you can see if you compare the prices of this year to last year's information that I had provided.
Can you describe a few of these things for me? Interceptor hoods, new leather shields, extrication gloves, and fire gloves.
Okay, the hoods, the Interceptor Hook, it's just a name for the hood. The hoods go over your head. They would look like, kind of like a ski type.
Underneath the helmet?
Yes, they go underneath the helmet. So if you've ever seen the SCBA mask that they put on, it wraps around that mask and it makes the seal for everything else. It goes down inside your jacket and it covers the back of your neck as far as it goes. So that is the hood. Usually we try to have, we have one for each set of their gear. And the hoods are something that they found that if they do not get cleaned on a regular basis, were causing cancer in some of the bigger places and stuff like that. That's something that in a lot of places, after a certain period of time, they do away with them because of the chances of getting cancer from them. The shield is a shield that actually goes on top of the helmet to identify what department you're with. If you've seen a helmet, they have this leather thing that is up there, and it usually has a specific number to the department on it. I didn't hear extrication gloves. So when you're doing using the jaws of life, there are lighter gloves that usually are in your pockets that you can use to do extrication on motor vehicle accidents and things like that. There are also, most of them are bloodborne pathogen proof, so that you can use those if you've got to hold someone's head. Besides like the big bulky gloves that in the fire department, you're using in firefighting, that are far more expensive, so we don't ruin, like a $150 pair of gloves for that particular case. They also are pretty cut resistant to keep you from getting cut by broken glass, sharp metal, and stuff when you're working around the vehicle.
And the other one, 5 gloves, are just the big gloves that you wear when you fight a fire.
Yes. And if at any point in time that anyone would like to see any of that stuff, that you might have questions, by all means stop at the station and we'll show you exactly what it is. I would feel kind of strange, bringing a bag of stuff and putting it down and going, this is what it is. It for the everyday life, you're like, why do you need different this, different that?
Cell phones, telephones.
Yeah. Cell phones, regular phones.
I'm looking at that, at the phone line. The first thing is Verizon cell phones times 8. Are those new cell phones we're buying, or?
No, that is something that is in place. We have phones that are in place. We have one on the ambulance. I carry one. Caleb carries one, and there's one more. I believe it's in the car. And the other thing is that we reimburse the officers that are on call on the weekends. They don't get paid unless they go out on the call. But they all take a weekend as far as we go down through the list. There's 7 of us. They all take a weekend and they stay in town for that weekend. So we just rotate down through. I reimburse them for $30-something as far as for cell phones.
So the $343 line item times 12, that's for the charge for the line, or that's for buying the phone?
No, that's the charge for the line.
That's the charge for the
That's
line.
everything. That's reimbursement. So when you get down to it, at $32 for the officer, it's $384 for a year for reimbursement for a phone. What we were finding was that it's easier to reimburse someone whatever amount than having to provide a phone. One, they're not using a department phone for personal use, where some people have their own businesses. Two, if I want to get a hold of them, or I need to get a hold of them, I can, because I know that they have a phone, and in most cases when we're on different scenes, they're usually looking, the dispatch is usually looking for someone to call in by cell phone. You call in by cell phone for, like key locations for different residences and things like that. And as we go along, a lot more of our phones are being used for notification as far as for different calls and things like that. We have some things that have been put in place until we can get our radio communications, basically 100%. We're notified by our cell phone of where different calls are, and we can actually punch in as far as cell phone that we're responding. It's kind of a neat thing as far as it goes. The rest of the increases in that line, all of the lines went up by a couple dollars for the fire stations. And also the taxes and local service line went up by, I think it was like at least $5 for the taxes on the regular lines.
Have we tried to do any negotiation with Verizon for a better price on that?
I did. We're locked in right now, and as far as a couple years, I think we have like 2 years left on this deal as far as the hard lines, and then we'll have to renegotiate.
Actually, I was thinking more about the cell lines, the cell phone lines.
The cell lines? We get quite a reduction as far as cell phone lines and stuff like that. I can't remember what it is. I don't have it right in front of me, but it gives the discount that we get as far as cell phones. Oh, Jack has the other line, as far as that he pays out of his own section, but it's on our plan.
I'm trying to remember, because when I cut the cable cord, I end up with, I have 2 cell phones.
Yep.
One with my old 569 phone number, my landline number, and then I have my regular cell phone number, and I think there's a $20 difference per to add a line.
Right.
So I just wondered if anybody ever, try to beat up on Verizon.
We have checked quite a few times as far as the different stuff. So, but as the opportunity that comes up, we'll definitely try to change that. And then obviously our internet and everything as far as our station is out of that same thing. And our wireless link for our 2 cardiac monitors, that comes out of the same phone section as far as it goes. And TDS, which is our Melbourne station, obviously that's a total different. I've tried to get different. I tried to get the internet phone service there, and they won't touch it. Because it's TDS's area, even though that they had, originally said that, yes, you could get, our phone for whatever price, and then they find out that it's in Melbourne Village, and it's what it is as far as price.
How many years are left? Every year we put money in the capital reserve every year for the new air packs. How many years is to go on that?
We're going for those air packs this year because of 2 different things. One is that there is approximately $50,000 worth of air bottles, the tanks that go in the packs, that expire this year as far as this cycle. Usually they would be able to go out and be hydro tested and put back in service. However, they've reached their life cycle as far as age-wise, so they can't be hydro tested again. That's one big thing. We're right around $37,000 from getting the air packs with the money that is there in the that's been put away this year. And what we have found is that as we have come along, we have been able to tear down what, originally we thought that they were going to cost, so much more, being the unknown. Because the packs, they usually seem like that they jump anywhere between 3 and 5% a year as far as because of the new standards that come out every couple of years. So to get the new bottles, it's obviously about $50,000. That $50,000 would only be good for, if you keep those packs for another year. Those bottles are only good for those particular packs. They won't work in the new packs that we are looking to get.
So if the warrant article were to be $37,000,
Right,
which
roughly.
would get us the new packs, that's going to include the new air bottles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it includes the new one bottle that comes with the pack and the spare. That each one of the packs has a spare bottle.
And how long ago were here?
They're good for 15 years.
That's not going to be a tough one to decide.
I thought that that it was quite a interesting thing as far as the amount. I'm like, oh my god. If they don't go through, then what do? Your $50,000 there to the bad as far as with those bottles, and then the packs that we have will be useless.
Okay.
Did you get a new office assistant?
No, I added 3 hours. I went from 7 hours to 3 hours more, so it's 10 hours total. Because that seems to be about, roughly as far as what we're doing. And then whatever the step and whatever increase. But it looks like a substantial jump.
Yeah.
Any amount of hours that you add to our budget looks like a massive jump with whatever you do, especially if you're trying to keep things, low. When you do add the hours, it's like, ooh.
Does that did kind of stick out?
Yeah, most definitely. That and as far as on the air pack side of things, with the selectmen, they had cut $2,000 out of the SCBA side of things because it was felt that if we had new packs, then we wouldn't have to be, fixing them and replacing them so much. That line item, I believe, was $4,500 to stack. So I did caution to leave $2,500 just because that if something does go wrong between whatever period of time and we get the new packs, we still need to fix some of the stuff. And we still have the air fill unit that fills the air bottles and stuff like that. That's not being upgraded or replaced. So we still have to work on that if something needs to happen. And we just spent right around $1,300 to repair that. So that does have needs now and then as far as unit-wise. But the good news is the new packs are, they say that they're most all of the brains and all that stuff is guaranteed for life of the pack. So that is a good thing. That may be a substantial savings, because some of the packs that we have currently, we were paying $2,000 for the brain on them when it went down, and we had to do a couple in a year. So that can go through your budget, but that would all be guaranteed.
One other question. New equipment,
Yes.
that line on there. What type of equipment is that line top?
26,368. The new equipment is everything that is listed there. If for some reason we get something that is different, that's, something that I don't have listed there, breaks or has to be replaced, then we might end up using some of the money that was slated for something else to replace that piece of equipment. But mostly what you see here is what we purchase. And the R stands for replacement.
So that line up here is on this sheet back here.
Yeah. Like the 4 gas meter, that is something that we have one of those in basically in every vehicle. And the meters 4 different things. There's one for carbon monoxide, propane or explosive gas. You have methane gas and oxygen level in the building. Each meter has 4 sensors in it. As the meters get older, it's cheaper to replace the whole meter than it is to buy the sensors that are in them. You may buy 1 or 2 of the sensors over a couple of the years, but as you go along, some of the other sensors are so expensive that it's cheaper to just replace the meter, and then you get a guarantee with that meter for another 4 or 5 years or so.
Adam, I have a question on returning to vehicle maintenance.
Yeah.
I recall when we were giving consideration to the new facility that there was some mention of being able to have the capability to wash the undercarriages of the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Did that system get installed?
We do clean the undercarriages as much as we can. There's nothing in the new station that is specifically made for that. We obviously do have a 100-gallon per minute pump that comes out of the cistern that we can attach to a hose line. We have been looking at making something. You can purchase them out there for whatever amount of money, but there are some items that you can run underneath the unit that you can make up for fairly cheap.
Yeah. All right. But I mean, there was a system that was contemplated and apparently that didn't get installed.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, the only reason why I mention this is that I think that undercarriage deterioration is a big problem.
Yep.
And I was kind of hoping you did have that system, and I was going to ask if we do the police vehicles. So
Okay.
obviously we don't, but I would just like to throw it out there that it would be nice if we had some ability to.
I mean, we do try to, at the end of the year, we try to pressure wash them as much as we can.
Yeah.
As far as the undercarriage, we have a small electric pressure washer, and then we have a bigger gas-powered one that we try to do that. But we have been looking at that, and that's something that we just haven't got to as far as building, that unit that you've probably seen advertised somewhere online that builds up the pressure. But it seems like it's fairly simple to.
Am I correct in assuming that if we could do a little bit more of that, that it would make the apparatus last a lot longer?
Hopefully. I mean, the more that you do as far as maintenance and upkeep, and that you try to, obviously, we have radiant heat in the floor, so the apparatus dries out a lot quicker, and that salt and the stuff dries right on with that. The more that you get that off and you keep it off and you keep the vehicle clean, then the better they stay. We have experienced quite a bit of rusting with the Suburban, which is a 2010.
Yeah.
But it's my understanding that's the way it was built, or the way that they were built. They put styrofoam for deadening, sound deadening, in behind like the rear fender areas and stuff like that. And the condensation and all the stuff builds up in there, and that's the areas that they've been finding that they're rusting out. We've been trying to keep up with that, because that was a vehicle that, obviously we had to have the engine replaced in, and the vehicle is a decent vehicle, and we put off its replacement for, I think it was 5 years as far as that goes, because I can't see replacing a vehicle that is a decent vehicle and has an engine that is brand new as far as that goes. So we have, it's slated to go in before the end of this year to have $1,600 worth of rust repair taken care of on it, so that we can keep up with that different stuff.
All right. Do you ever have any vehicles undercoated? That seems to be the rage lately.
Yeah, we haven't had any of our vehicles undercoated. I know that it's been talked about as far as for the future. The fire apparatus usually comes all coated, and a lot of times it's stainless steel with the bigger fire trucks and stuff like that as far as the different stuff. The main frames are all coated already, but we had never, we haven't had one of the smaller ones done yet.
Good.
Just to add to the selections a little bit, if you look at the vehicle maintenance line, Adam came in with a request of $36,924. We reduced that to $34,924, and it was premised solely upon historical figures. If you look at page 3, you got in 2015 it was 24,000, 34 and 16, 32 and 17, 32 and 18, 32 and 19. So it just seemed reasonable. You know it's going to be a little bit more, but pushing out. And his current expenses are 23,270, so his rate of travel is going to get him to 36,000, we didn't think. So that's the thinking behind our reduction of $2,000.
I think that we'll be pretty close as far as the money, but I don't believe, unless we have a massive issue, that we're going to blow over that. We did found with our engine 1 that it needs 2 new front tires and a all-wheel alignment. It's a Class A fire truck. It's going to have to go to down to the southern part of the state to have that done. It'll be out of service for a couple days and be back. The tires are going to be done at Belknap Tires in Laconia, where they have state bid for the tires, and that was just over $900 for the tires, and probably roughly around $1,500 for the alignment, depending on what they might need for parts to do that or what they have to do. That particular truck just came back from a service, and they obviously found the issue, and that'll be probably around $1,300 or just a little bit more if they had to do anything for over and above their normal service for that particular truck. And we've got obviously the swerving that's gonna be going out for the roughly $1,700 worth of repairs. So it chews away with the 12,000 and something that we have left.
Is there I just have, with all the equipment that gets out of date and gets replaced, is there any return on the used equipment, that recapture of any of that? Or does it just go to the?
So like the air packs, those are getting traded in. They are a reduction as far as the air packs that we have. They are still worth something to the company as a trade-in. The bottles, obviously not. They'll be cut out and they're scrap. But the packs themselves are still worth a little bit for them. So those will be traded in. When we go through like Jaws of Life and stuff like that, we try to trade in the stuff. A lot of times they don't want the stuff because other places might get grants or whatever and have new stuff. So some of the avenues of the smaller departments that wouldn't normally have the equipment are seeing whatever grants that are left and are getting new equipment in that particular case. But in some cases you are able to, obviously find a deal as far as to be able to trade in the different stuff. Our last engine obviously got traded in when we purchased the new one.
I would like to recommend that we approve the budget for the fire department, Department 4220 at $486,159.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Anybody else have any other questions for Adam? Further discussion amongst ourselves? Forthcoming, those in favor, aye? Opposed?
I'll recuse myself on this budget.
Okay.
What's that? I'm recusing myself on this budget.
I don't know why you do it, but there's,
Well, can
I've always had to.
we trade the turnout here in?
No, once it's,
Should we have a store?
yes.
'Cause I'd love to pick up some of
You'd
those.
like that one, Houston? Well, when they get thrown out, make sure that give them the size.
Yes, federal use.
or we'll let you know when the elementary school is going to be visiting the fire department to rep that.
I did get a set of stripes out of the county jail. So, and I'm mowing.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much for the time and all the effort that you put into actually going through and trying to keep our budget as low as it is as far as town and taxes.
Well,
Before you arrive,
Okay.
I think it maybe some Halloween I might need that, you know.
Well, you never know, right?
Thanks, Adam.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks, I'm sure, because I know that I have 3 other budgets.
Okay. This evening, and then we, of course, are discussing new business. Chip, is there anything else that you want to add beyond what you told us already?
I'll continue to hope that we get more budgets to you and to you in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
As Adam alluded to, we've got the ambulance budget left to come in. So it should be pretty straightforward. And I went before I get to look for my next meeting, but I'm sure we'll get to it as quickly as we can.
CIP, yeah?
Our last meeting was on the 28th of October, and the fire department came in, the police department came in, Chief Shiguri presented his projects, And then the selectmen, Chip and Lloyd presented the selectmen projects. We will be meeting again tomorrow. And we will be going over a draft of the report, and we'll be working to finalize a spreadsheet and how things fall out. We will be meeting with the budget committee, with the selectmen and the planning committee on December 1st to present our report.
Good, thank you.
Helen, when you meet, do you have an updated spreadsheet at each meeting, or?
Yes.
I wonder if that could be furnished to us with part of our packets.
Well, you'll get it when we issue our report. I mean, it's still a rough draft.
Well, I realize that, but I for one would just like to see what kind of is in the works, you know, as you go along. And I realize it's a draft, and but I just wonder if it could be sent out with our packets, if there's one available. You know, if you've had a meeting and it's just a good reference document, and help us look at it, see what. I think overall, you know, we're all going to be concerned about what the bottom line is. You know, getting ready for a town meeting. And not just like,
Well, we
I
are.
guess I'd say that it's a public document, you can call Kathy.
I'm sorry.
I said it's a public document, you can call Kathy down at the town office, and I'm sure she'll get it.
Fine. Okay.
That'd be the fastest way. I know we looked at it the other day, and the CIP is concerned that we're somehow exceeding our capacity. If you look through the columns, it's pretty easy to drive it down to the 950.
Say that again?
I said it's pretty easy to drive the number down to 950,000 because some of the stuff that is listed I know isn't going to happen.
That's right.
So it is, as you say, it's a work in progress.
It's
But then
working.
we may blow it up by doing a police department, so who knows? But I think that's beyond the realm of the CIP at this point in time, because we aren't even ready to throw that number out.
Okay.
Okay.
Our next meeting will be on the 24th of November, right here. Home input?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So are we going to add a meeting on November 17th? We had discussed that at the time that we canceled the for 20th meeting.
Well, we were waiting at the time to see where we were. I don't necessarily think the selectmen are going to have a lot more for us by the 17th, are you?
The 17th is next Tuesday.
That's next Tuesday.
Yeah, we're gonna have quite a lot probably on Monday. The second we can do it any time at all to review it. So I don't know that it would serve your purposes to just come and talk.
So the answer is no, we're not.
I don't think we are.
Okay.
Gordon, just returning to this telephone business tonight for a minute. For personal reasons, it's best for me to try to attend these meetings using the phone. If there's any way that you could just give me a call if the system's not working, I certainly will come up here and attend.
Well, that's
the
fine.
meeting.
That's fine. But,
And
you know, we tried at 6:25 and started at 6:30, so.
Yeah, we'll get it working. If for whatever reason it doesn't work, I
Yeah.
put it in the power.
And I tried to get on at 6:15 and then continuously, and I realized it wasn't going to work.
What were you getting on the phone when you tried to get on it?
Just that the meeting hasn't started yet, and to please stay on hold.
Yeah, that's what they're telling us.
Okay, then.
We'll fix it.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made, those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.